Hi guys, my name is Roger, and I'm building a mid-engine supercar in the basement of my home. Let's take a look at what I've been working on this week.
Alright, I wanted to show you this. This is the PMU 16 power management unit, which is basically a solid state device that will handle or replace up to 16 fuses and relays. So you can see how big this is. It fits in the palm of my hand. Pretty amazing little device. It's kind of pricey, but the fact that this replaces this is really amazing, and I needed something that took up a smaller footprint anyway. I was planning on getting rid of these large connectors because they're horrible, but this will mount somewhere in this general vicinity, maybe it'd be upside down, not quite sure yet. Probably needs to mount this direction, but I'm gonna mount this to the firewall. I'm gonna figure out exactly where I want to put it and mount it to the firewall, and then we will start planning some circuits, how the ignition circuits are going to run, and start running some individual circuits possibly. But I want to get this thing mounted first, and then we can start hopefully running some circuits, programming those, and get things working one by one. But let's get started doing those things. Okay, I have the PMU mounted here, and it's just above the Holley Dominator ECU, and I've shifted it off to the side, so my power cable is running somewhere over on this side and going down to the battery. Not quite sure where I'm going to attach it yet. I need to read up on this thing and see what kind of current supply it needs. There's several fuses down here on this battery that you can't see, but anyway, I can tap to either one of those fuses. There's like a 50, 100, 200, and 350 amp fuses. I just don't know which one I need to run this wire to, but the connector, all of the wires going to the connector will attach here and come around and run down clean around that. That should, once attached to the firewall, that should look nice, and then this will be in some kind of loom also to protect it. But I think I like that, the way it looks. It all lines up nice and neat and should look really good when it's finished. But next thing I need to do is I'm going to go upstairs and start writing down all of the circuits that I need, get an exact number of circuits, which ones need relays, which ones don't, what size fuses each circuit needs, and start laying out a game plan to run the wiring. And once I have everything written down and know exactly what I'm going to do, then I'll come back down and start wiring the circuits one at a time. But check back with you here as soon as I have these circuits laid out correctly and I'm ready to begin wiring. Okay, I have the first circuit wired, and it's really ultra simple. And it's only partially wired. I have one thing wired up to where it works, but this actual circuit's going to feed a couple of different things. And this is a software here. You can see I have one output here labeled as Windows and steering column, and this circuit is going to provide power to both doors, which will be the power windows, power mirrors, and then the steering column for the little switches that control things, which right now the only thing I have wired up is the switch to control the steering column, like tilt and telescopic features. And you can see right now this isn't working. There's no power running to it, and there's no lights on here on the ECU because nothing is powered up. But I have this wire here which will be connected to the switch, so when you turn the switch on, either in the first position or the second, the first one would be accessories or ACC, and then the second one would be once the car's running. But when you fire the switch on to the first switch, it'll send power to this wire. I'm going to go ahead and connect it here to 12 volts, just like if you turn the switch on. Now you can see here the light is on, saying that the ECU has power, and also that there is power on the output of circuit 13. And 13 is this wire here, which is the one that is providing power up to the windows and the steering column. And I just have it labeled here and taped together for now. But once you turn the switch to ACC, it'll send the power to the doors, to the windows, to the mirrors, and to the steering column here. So now you can see we have telescopic and tilt. That is all working. And that is a really simple circuit, but it is finished to that point. Now I will need to splice wires running out into both doors from that same wire, this same large wire here. And that is configured on one of the 25 amp fuses. So that should be all that is required for those. But once I connected that wire so that there's 12 volts running like the ACC, you can see here it's saying that I'm connected, and you can go in and program this to do whatever you want it to. But like I said, I just have it set on ACC now, so when you turn the switch on one position, it powers up the ECU, and that powers up the accessories, so they will work with the switch in the first position. But anyway, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wiring harness here for the front. It's a front lamp harness. It goes to the horn, the headlights, and a couple of other little things. And I'm going to start laying it out up here in front of the car and position the connectors where they need to be, and seeing which wires I'm going to use and which ones I'm going to remove. And then I'll start running wires back to this ECU and start programming. But let's get started doing that. Well, the wheels and tires finally arrived. They've been on order for at least a couple of months, maybe 3. But they came today. I put them on the car, and let me tell you, they are enormous. They are wide. This rear tire, I'll show you a picture of the old ones and the new ones side by side. But this rear tire is 13 inches wide, and it is heavy also. I had to carry all 4 of these from the driveway down to the basement, and I am still out of breath. Not sure I can get back far enough away to show you these, but it's also kind of dark, but you can get an idea. They are black wheels, and they are gloss black, if you can't tell in the shadow here. Go up and look at a front one, see if there's any better lighting. The front ones are just a little bit wider than what was on the car, maybe an inch. I ran the steering lock to lock to make sure I had plenty of clearance, and everything looks good. There were 18s all the way around. These front ones are 19s, and the rears are 20s. So 20 inch by 12 inch wide wheels and 13 inch wide tires. So quite a big difference. Also, the seat belts came in today. And I will take a break from the wiring and install these here in just a few days. I don't know if I'll actually start on it on this week's video, or it could be next week's, but just whenever I get to a good stopping point here on the wiring, I'll go ahead and start laying out where these seat belts are going to install and how I'm going to attach them, and start installing those. That way, if I take the car out for a drive again sometime in the future before it's finished, at least I'll have seat belts. It seems a little dangerous with no doors or seat belts, but somehow wearing seat belts just makes it seem safer where it is or not. But we'll get these installed here as soon as possible. And this is a sample of the loom that I'm using for the wiring loom. This end of the wires here goes to the switches and stuff on the steering column, like the control here for the tilt and telescopic, turn signal, and the windshield wipers on the other side. And all the wires come across here and are loomed up nice and neat. These wires go down here to the control module for the tilt and telescopic steering column. And then we've got ground wires going up here and grounding to a common lug, and then the remainder of the switch wires come down here, and everything is labeled, so I'll know where to run them to once I get to that. But just wanted to show you this, what the wire looming looks like, the process, and how neat it winds up being in the end when it's finished. Okay, let's take a look at what we've got accomplished this week, which is probably not going to look like a lot. I've been working on this wiring, and it's taking a long time. I haven't been filming any of this process because just seeing me sit here and playing with wires and labeling them and running loom and stuff is going to be very boring, so I don't have any of that video to show. But I have removed pieces of the wiring harness from the stock wiring harness. This is like the rear lamp assembly. I've removed the front two headlight assemblies from the wiring harness, and I've started placing this where it's going to go. This part of the harness will bolt to the back of the car, the body of the car somewhere. And I'm routing the loom here down the side, up underneath the frame rail here. It comes across and up. It'll go up here and wire into these places. This is a printout of the wiring diagram I have taped to these wires, so I'll know exactly where every wire goes. The wiring harnesses here for the headlights are laying here. The one on the right side over here, and then the left one here. All of these wires go to the headlights. I have them labeled where they go, so once I start mounting these and running wires, the wires, all these ends from both of these connector pieces will have to run back here and plug into to the PMU and wire in. And let's see, I bought new connectors here because I'm running a Corvette wiring harness and a Camaro lights. The connectors are different, but I bought new connectors. They came today, so I can wire these so they can plug in. And the next circuit I'm going to start wiring is the turn signals. That's why I have the lights laid out here, and then after the turn signals it'll be the remainder of the lights and the headlights and the tail lights. But that'll be what's next in line. I'll be working on that next week. A few other things that I've bought that have come in. The seat belts are here. I'll probably start mounting those sometime next week. There is this. This is what I'll be using for the ignition switch. This is part of a kit here, which is like the keyless entry system and an alarm system and a remote start and all that. I won't be using the remote start since I have a manual transmission, but I will be using this push to start button somewhere mounted in the center console, and it has this piece that goes with it, like some of the supercars, Lamborghinis and such have, where you have to flip up, kind of like a fighter style switch. You flip up, press the start button, then flip it back down to cover that button.
And I guess that's going to be about it for this week's video. I'll see you guys again next week, where we'll be continuing on the wiring and most likely installing the seat belts if nothing goes wrong. But I'll see you guys again in 1 week.